To talk to a little bit. I can't quite speak as an expert on motherhood, so we wanted to talk with them a little bit. And this is Kelly Gore. Well, you can speak to it more than I can, believe me. But Kelly, you just saw up here with her husband and her daughter, Sophie. So you've been a mom for 7 months. And then this is Jane Thorne. This is Kelly's mom, so Sophie's grandma. And Chris, if you know Chris, it's his mom as well. And a bunch of other non-officially adopted children during the holidays and all those kinds of things. So we wanted to have them just share a little bit with us about what it means to be a mom. And so I want to start with you, Kelly, if you would, and just talk about, what were some of the challenges or what were some of maybe the assumptions that you had about being a mom that were challenged right off the bat?
Well, one of the biggest challenges, and I think a lot of people can relate, is that I do not operate well without a lot of sleep.
Okay.
And when you're a new mom, you don't get a lot of sleep. And so this was a big adjustment.
A rude awakening of sorts.
It was.
So how did that impact you?
Well, my husband and I are very much planners, and one of our values is that we want to have an amazing, thriving marriage. And when you don't get a lot of sleep, you become short with one another. You just sometimes don't have the healthiest of relationships. And so we really had to be very intentional, because I kind of thought naively that our relationship would be the same. And when you have a whole nother responsibility, it looks different. And so we had to make some pretty radical choices this year. We decided to give up cable TV. We canceled our cable. We decided to stop watching TV altogether for the year so we could just adjust and be intentional about focusing on our relationship. And then we actually do no technology in our house after 8 o'clock. So the cell phone's off, laptops off, just really being intentional, because that's a relationship that's so important to us.
Yeah, and that's kind of, a lot of people would think that those are radical things, but it's interesting that a lot of that stems out of saying, hey, there's this new challenge, and we need to learn how to readjust. So that's really, I think it's a good challenge.
Oh, and it was the best decision we could have ever done.
Really? That's awesome. So you don't miss the TV?
Not at all, and we probably will never get cable TV again.
Yeah, that's something for all of us to think about as we're trying to find time to figure out what this parenting and marriage relationship looks like. Well, Jane, let me ask you, she is a young mother. You are more of a wise mother. That's a nice way of putting it, right?
So kind.
Yes, your son just told me to call you old lady, but I'm not going to do that, okay?
I would believe that he would say.
Yes. What is it for you that you wish someone had told you as a young mother? What are some of the things you wish you would have learned?
I wish I had learned to cherish every moment, because that you blink and this is what happens. Don't be afraid to ask for help, because it can sometimes take a village, and people don't know if you don't tell them. And then the other thing is that we were not in church when the children were younger. And thankfully, I learned along the way that my most important relationship was mine with Christ. And I have to be still, and I have to listen to what he tells me. So the best advice I can give to young parents and young mothers is to make that be a priority and listen for his wisdom and guidance, because he can tell you better than anyone.
And that's interesting, because that really kind of ties in relationally to what you were saying about making time. Well, what is it that you feel like you learned from your family, from your parents, about being a mom?
We learned so many things, and before John and I got married, we actually sat down and looked at the values we wanted to incorporate in our family. And so we created this family values book for our parents as a gift. And 3 big things that kind of came out of...
And these are for sale, right?
No, very private copies. The first was honor and respect. I just so admired that about my parents. The way they were in public was very much the way they were in private. And they just never spoke down to each other. Not that they, had this perfect relationship, but they just really honored and respected one another. The other big one was just the encouragement that they gave us. They always supported every endeavor, and they didn't even realize it at the time, but they showed us that God had a plan for our life and really helped to model that. And then the third one is really generosity. And so not only with our resources, but with our time. You said mom adopts everyone, and our holidays are open to everyone who doesn't have a place to go. And so those are things that we wanted to incorporate into our family, of just really valuing those things.
Yeah, you weren't kidding when you said you were a planner. You thought all this out in the midst of getting married and had books made and gave them. I mean, that's awesome. But man, it certainly takes planning. There will be no more books now that she has children.
She's written two.
We actually did.
You did? Okay.
Yes.
Well, I strike back then. Well, what advice, Jane, as you've been a mom and as you've watched her be a mom, what is some of the advice that you would give to young moms?
I think in today's society that one of the things, technology is great, but cell phones and computers can just dominate our lives. So turn them off. Learn how to turn them off, and you don't have to be available every second. The other thing is slow down. It's just a hectic paced society, and we take Sunday afternoons and have family day, and we all try to get together, and we do it probably 80% of the Sundays. And we get together and just catch up on the week, and that's Chris and Kelly and John and my sister, and there's several of us that get together, my nephew. And of course, Sophie, she's the highlight of it. But it's just a great time together, and it's a day that I really love.
Those are things that maybe used to happen back when, before the technology and all that. You sat around, you talked, you did that. And so, I think it works in really well with what you guys are trying to embrace to make that. And Kelly, you're a life coach for women. And, what are some of the things as you're talking to other women who are moms and that kind of thing, what are the lessons you're seeing that a lot of women are struggling with?
I think a lot of it, we sound anti-technology, and we're not by any means. But one of the things that she really said is just taking time. And I know a lot of the women that I work with, one, they're kind of unclear of what their priorities are. And so taking time to really figure out what is most important to you, and then how is that demonstrated in your schedule. And so she said, we have family day. Family is something we really value in our home. And so we spend Sunday afternoons at her house. We Skype on Sunday evenings with my husband's family. It's just making time for what's most important.
But you don't Skype after 8 because you have to turn everything off by 8, right?
And we're not super legalistic about it.
Now, hold on. I'm just kidding. I'm just teasing.
But we do Skype before 8, just so you know.
Okay, that's good. I just didn't want to be disappointed. So, I think it's interesting that a lot of the things that you're saying, I think a lot of people are struggling with the same things and trying not to let society kind of teach us, all of that. So you are a new grandma, and that's your title, right?
Yes, grandma.
And so tell us a little bit what you enjoy about that.
I love everything about being a grandma. Sophie she's just a joy, and she was a miracle that we didn't think was ever going to happen. But we have a motto at my house that Kelly is really not buying into yet, and I'm not sure John knows. But what happens at Grandma's house stays at Grandma's house. So there we go.
So Grandma's house is kind of like Las Vegas, in other words. Okay.
Well, I hope not. I don't think so.
Oh, that's great. Well, besides that, tell us what you most appreciate about what you've learned from your mom.
There's so many things, but I think one of the biggest things that my brother and I would probably both say is that our parents supported every single endeavor. And, if you know me, I have some pretty big dreams and, pretty far out things. But, my mom serves tirelessly in our business behind the scenes. No one would know what she does. And so it's just a huge blessing, and that's definitely a gift I want to pass on to my kids.
We've talked about being a grandparent and all of that, but then the other reality that you've had to live into is you've had to learn to be the mom to your parents as well. Tell us a little bit about that.
It's really hard. And if you did not have patience, you will have patience. Along the way, you come up with plans that, they used to make, and you have to take over that role, which is hard for both of you. And you try to make it their idea. If that doesn't work, you still have to, be the mom, more or less. But don't argue. And the biggest thing that you can do is just give them unconditional love, because that's what they need right then.
Yeah, that's got to be. I've begun to have to do some things with my mom. It's a tough challenge. But probably the most important question is we're looking into the life of Jesus. What has being a mom taught you about God's love for you?
We talked about this and how to respond to this question, and I think the most overwhelming thing is that we have unconditional love for our kids. There is nothing that Sophie could do. Yes, of course, there are going to be times when she disappoints me, but there's nothing that she can do ever that's going to make me stop loving her. And to think of that compared to how much God loves us, that He loves us so much more than we can even fathom, and there's nothing that we can do that separates us from that love. I think it can just be overwhelming to really think about that God loves us way more than I can possibly love Sophie.
That is a real challenge. And I think it's an important word for all of us, because I think a lot of us have some real lies or false beliefs about God's love for us. And so that's just a drop in the ocean to God's love for us. Hey, let's give these moms a hand, and thank you for sharing.